And the thing is, sometimes you're going to have to change your friend group a little bit.
Put them in a dark corner with alcohol or drugs or whatever. They grow in the darkness. Welcome to No Streetlights Podcast. I'm Erin.
And I'm Tim. We'll be engaging in conversations every Friday to shine a light on what we've been through, how it changed us, and what we learned.
We want to encourage societal growth towards kindness through understanding.
These conversations and the associated language can be triggering.
Listen at your own discretion.
But please reach out if we need to be doing something better.
So, let's take a breath, relax, and be welcome. Tim!
Erin!
Man, I am so excited that I don't think I can engage in banter this week.
That's pretty fair.
That's because we've got an absolute force of nature joining us today. This amazing woman isn't afraid to break the mold and forge her own path. Please welcome Navy vet, published model, certified personal trainer, the one and only Erin Edgeworth. She's a real rocker, and I have no doubt we're in for an inspiring conversation. Erin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here, and I can't wait to kind of understand and get to know you here on this episode today. Just so we're clear, I'm going to get a little confused if at any point I say, Erin, tell me a little bit about this, but we're not sure which Erin I'm talking to. Just, throw a fist at me or something, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. But, you can call me Edgy. You can call me Edgy too. That was my name in the military. My nickname, Edgy. It's
Edgy.
A shortened version of my last name, Edgeworth. So they call me Edgy.
I kind of like that.
You are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can
kind of dig that.
Yeah, you can call me that to avoid any confusion.
A personal trainer, a model, and a veteran. Like,
Correct.
what a hell of a resume you got going on. Holy crap.
Oh, definitely. I've been kind of all over the place, jack of all trades with my hobbies and jobs that I've done after my time active duty and in the reserves. I just said, you know what, I've got the time now, so why not try different things out, you know?
Hell yeah. Yeah. What made you particularly want to dive into those diverse interests? I mean, going from the military, obviously military makes sense, but model, personal trainer, and I mean, whatever else you get into, you seem like a person who has a lot of stuff that they like to kind of take on as a hobby and a passion project.
Oh, for sure. Well, I've always enjoyed working out. That's always been a hobby of mine, like, especially like the military kind of forced me into it initially, but then I grew to really love it and enjoy it. And I've always enjoyed like working out with people and like helping people to achieve their goals. And that kind of ties into more of when I went on deployment to Somalia. And I was with a group of other female MAs, and we were training Somali military women in jiu-jitsu. So that was like my first taste of like working with people and training people and coaching somebody. And I really liked it, especially like when you're working with someone and you see it click, they get it. And you're like, that's such an awesome thing to see, because their face lights up and they're like, oh, I get it now. And they just are having so much fun with it. And you start to roll with it too and have a lot of fun too. And you know that you've made that impact on them. It's really rewarding.
Hell yeah. So you were also a master at arms as well?
Correct.
Nice. Does it feel good kind of getting out of that line of work and more into what you're doing now?
Oh, definitely. I mean, leaving the military, it was bittersweet. I mean, like on one hand, I was relieved it was over, but there was a profound sense of sadness.
Yeah.
There really was. I did 11 years and I mean, I got a lot out of it. I got to travel. I got a lot of experience, met some amazing people, but still, it was a big change. And there's that sense of loss, even though it was more of a positive change. I'm happier now than I was when I was in. It was something I had to come to terms with.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. So there is that I guess they call it like a post-military depression that does hit a lot of veterans. your life has completely altered or shifted from being in the military and constantly having like, essentially somebody yelling in your face, but, metaphorically speaking sometimes. But yeah, no, you're not surrounded by the same community that you're surrounded by and everything. But it seems like you've really filled that, I guess you could call it maybe a void or, a lack there of the military. It seems like you've definitely filled it with some incredible hobbies.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I always found ways to pass my time.
Mhm.
And, like I started getting into modeling a little bit while I was reserves and was in a magazine about 2 years ago, Style Cruise magazine.
Hell yeah.
And my photographer, Edward, he got me into that. And I've taken a little bit of a break from it because of work, just because my schedule it can be pretty demanding. So I don't have the time that I used to, but it's still something that I do every now and then. And I got into modeling because I like in the active duty, I didn't feel pretty. Like as a woman, you don't feel very pretty or feminine. You're wearing this bulky uniform and all this gear and hair's all slicked back. It can be hard to just feel womanly and feminine sometimes and feel pretty. You don't. So when I got out of active, went reserves, I ran into an old friend of mine from high school and he was doing some modeling and he said, I think you'd be really good at it. And I was like, well, okay, I'll give it a go. And so I started getting into it. He introduced me to some of his photographers and it was basically like trade for pay. So I'm not getting paid for it. So basically like if you're the photographer, I'm the model, I pose for you, you take pictures that you can use for your portfolio. And I've got pictures I can use for mine. That's trade for pay. Basically, like you're not paying me money. I'm not paying you money. We're basically just exchanging a service basically for each other.
So it's like having a podcast.
In a way, yeah.
Sounds exactly like having a podcast to me.
So, Erin, one thing that I do want to commend you on straight out of the gates is you always march to the beat of your own drum, everyone else be damned. So I think that's one thing that makes you so captivating as a model is that you're getting genuineness. You're not just taking stock photos. You're really expressing your entire being just by your presence. Do you feel like that's what you're doing, or do you feel like you are putting on a facade sometimes?
Oh, no, it's always what I'm doing, what I'm feeling for that time. Exactly. The photo that got into the magazine, it's such an awesome photo because I should have sent that to you maybe afterwards. But it's like I've got on one of my favorite blazers. It's totally studded punk rock blazer, pair of nice pants, and I'm kicking at the camera and I've got my middle finger up in the air and it is just such an awesome photo.
Hell yeah.
You did send that to us.
Oh, I did? Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Here, let me.
I think I got that one right. That was in the photos
Yep.
Erin sent.
From her Instagram.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, photo.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about where you're from and what drove you in the directions that you've gone?
Well, as far as like where I grew up at, Everett, Washington. And
Okay.
I always wanted to do something more with my life. I didn't want to go to community college like everybody else was. I didn't want to, I just wanted to go on an adventure and do something that was different and fun. And I found that with the military, I figured that'd be the best bet. I didn't have a lot of money to go off to a university or especially not out of state or anything like that. And I wanted that adventure. I wanted that new experience. And I wanted to do something different. All of my friends were going off to, community college or the university. And I'm like, no, I just don't feel like that's for me. And I want to do my own thing. And I did.
Back to that marching to the beat of your own drum.
Exactly.
I don't think many of your cohorts in high school have been to Somalia.
No. I mean, granted, I don't keep in touch with most of them anymore, maybe like one.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they haven't been anywhere. they haven't. Most of them, I don't think, have even left Washington State.
Yeah, that's a big thing that we talked about a little bit and I've been thinking about a lot is had we stayed in Parkersburg, our hometown, the biggest we could have possibly grown would be like crossing the river to Belpre or Marietta.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Going to live
So
in Ohio for
Yeah.
for whatever fucking reason.
for some reason. Hell on earth. Before we get a little bit further into this episode, Erin, I do want to mention to all of our listeners, if you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify, we also have video over on YouTube. If you want to go and check out the video and see the badass herself, Erin over here, and all of her amazing tattoos, or if you just want to take a look at Erin's beautiful beard, feel free to check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to us over there, leave a comment, leave a like, whichever. Anything helps engage conversation, and just feel free to reach out to us if you want to talk to us, maybe mention who you want to see on the show, or if you have any questions that you think would be something for Erin and I to explore, please let us know.
Speaking of questions, the fitness industry and the modeling industry can often have very narrow beauty standards. So, what are you doing to kind of challenge that and make the community more inclusive for yourself and others?
Well, part of that has just been trying to pave my own way with it. Like I go out and I be myself. I look, and I look, I've gotten to a magazine. Yes, I've got all these tattoos. No, I'm not 5'10". No, I'm not super skinny or blonde, but you can still make it. You have to just be willing to take that step, and other opinions be damned. And, as a personal trainer, like, I'm in really good shape. Am I like super jacked or shredded? No. I mean, that'll come in November for my competition. But, obviously that takes a lot of work to get there. But you can still work with what you got and achieve your goals. And you don't have and that's what I try to stay away from Instagram when it comes to anything like fitness or model related, at least looking at those things for inspiration or anything like that, because it's just so cookie cutter. It's so cookie cutter. And it's like, and a lot of these people, of course they edit their photos and they Photoshop this or Photoshop that, some more so than others. And it's like, or, they stand in just the right lighting and they flex or whatever to make themselves look the best. And that's what a lot of people, I think, have a hard time coming to terms with or realizing, is that is not real. A lot of what you're seeing on social media with a lot of these, like, especially more well-known models or fitness influencers, it's not all real.
Yeah, it's a very tailored look, and it's, for the most part, like, these influencers, they're going for a specific branding, like if you have,
for sure.
if you have, your typical, like, a couple people come to mind. Like, I think the biggest one I can think of is like Athlean X, that guy. He's like,
Yeah.
He wants to look as great as possible in his videos and photos and everything because he's selling a product. He wants people to purchase it, it's, you have to separate yourself from the commercial, essentially, that you're looking at here versus like the person. And you being, a fitness trainer, model and everything, like, from what I'm hearing and everything that you're talking about here, it sounds to me like you have to just make that first step, like take the first step out and then get yourself out there if that's something you're interested in doing.
Right. Exactly. That's really all it is. You just have to be willing to take that first step and be willing to shut out everything else. Any criticism, any naysayers. You just have to take that first step and say, hey, you know what? Let's see where this goes. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, at least I can say I tried.
Yeah, definitely. For your transition from modeling into personal trainer, was there anything specific that inspired that shift and focus on like your health and fitness? Like, or is that something that felt like the natural progression to you?
It was kind of more of a natural progression. I also was wanting to do better and take better care of myself. I mean, when I was active duty, I used to smoke heavily. I was pack a day. I'm sure Erin might remember from Sasebo days.
I
The
do.
pack a day smoking. Yeah, the smoke pit, living at the smoke pit.
Well, it feels like the only place you can get a break from work sometimes.
Oh, for sure. And then, of course,
And a real
the
human
nights
connection.
at in Sailortown and Filipino Alley. And, those habits from active duty, they carried over even when I went into reserves in terms of my drinking, smoking, even eating habits. And I just was getting tired of it after. It wasn't having a good impact on my health at all. Waking up in the morning, coughing, being short of breath, getting a little bit too reliant on alcohol. That was becoming an issue for me.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to try to get away from that more. And, I don't want to be someone who has to drink all the time or who's smoking well into their 40s, because the 30s is when it hits. There is a big difference I've noticed from, people when you're in your 30s. There's a big difference. Those who take care of themselves, they're fine. And those who don't, they start to go downhill very quickly, very quickly. And they're not feeling good. They're not aging well. And they're starting to have a lot of problems as well. And I was like, I don't want that to be me. I turned 30 last year. I'm like, do not want that to be me. I've seen people who are, only 5 to 10 years older than me, and they're struggling because they didn't take care of themselves. And it's like, no, I don't want that to happen to me. So I started making some changes, and becoming a personal trainer, it helped me stick to those goals because I had that incentive,
Yeah, of course.
So, because like last year, I got a little bit crazy with it, some of my drinking and going out and bad habits with eating and smoking. And then when I got into, because I started the gym that I work at, I started working an admin position first, taking care of scheduling. And then I started working on getting my personal training certification. And so while I was doing that, I had to get back into better shape. So within 3 months, I lost about 24 pounds and got my certificate and started training. In fact, this August is my 1-year anniversary of working at my gym.
How good.
Hell yeah.
So I have questions about various things, but first I want to hear, what are some of these habits that you've shifted out of and into that you've seen make the most positive impact in your life?
Definitely quitting the smoking and vaping. Quit that. I can breathe a lot better. Cardio's getting better. Not drinking anymore. It's kind of like, not drinking like I used to. I'll still enjoy a drink here and there, but not like how I used to. It was just binging. And I definitely feel more clear-headed. I think that was one thing I remember from my heavy drinking days, was definitely kind of feeling like I was living in a fog the entire time. Like and it's a very altered state of reality whenever you drink and you get to that level. And, and like my dad likes to say, alcohol is a lie, because you drink it and you're feeling great. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. No, I'm doing great. And no, you're not. And your problems are right there for you, waiting for you right there the next day. So it's a temporary instant gratification and getaway. Does it really do much for you in the long run? No, it does more harm than good.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Alcohol it's one of those things that if you cut it out of your life completely and entirely, it has zero negative impact in your life whatsoever.
Exactly.
Like if anything, incorporating alcohol and smoking too in your life is going to definitely cause way more harm than it ever will good. Those little 5-10 minute breaks you get from work just because you want to go smoke a little bit. And like Erin said, have a human connection at the smoke pit. Like, yeah, sure, that's great and all, but you can't maintain that shit. Like, that's impossible to do.
Can't do it forever. No.
A big thing that your father's saying sparked in me, it kind of made me realize, if you're not looking your problems right in the face, if you put them in a dark corner with alcohol or drugs or whatever, they grow in the darkness.
Oh, they do.
They shrink in the light. So if you're not looking at addressing, talking about, or, doing shadow work yourself actively, your problems are growing.
Oh, for sure. And it's a temporary Band-Aid that you're trying to put on a festering wound. That's what it is. And you're not addressing the root of the problem. And you're just trying to self-medicate with whatever it may be.
Yeah, definitely. What are some Like, do you have any kind of points of advice that you could provide to any of our listeners about maybe some habits that you found incorporating in your day to day makes it easier to start swapping out these negative things that you had cut out of your life?
Well, quitting smoking nicotine patches and the pouches, those definitely helped.
Yeah.
Nicotine pouches, I did those. So kind of like dip pouches, but it's not tobacco. You don't have to be spitting all over the place. Just a little.
Like the Zen pouches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of those. Those definitely help. Use those for about a week or two, and that was good after that. For alcohol, mocktails. I did some of those. And then when I started my diet, I went completely cold turkey. Though cold turkey doesn't always work for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're trying to make that transition out of that, you can, start, even though it's not great, you can have soda, maybe some soda instead. Drink more water. I know it sounds so cliche to say that as a trainer, drink more water, but, and find things to occupy your time with that don't involve alcohol. Like if your friends are all wanting to go to the bar, suggest somewhere else. Like, hey, how about we go, why don't we go to the beach instead? Or why don't we go for a hike instead? It's very outdoorsy here in Washington. So lots of hikes. You can even go to the beaches here as well. Or why don't we go downtown and check out some of the shops? Let's try to do something that's not going to, completely revolve around alcohol. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, sometimes you're going to have to change your friend group a little bit. You don't have to stop being friends with these people, but you may have to kind of push them aside a little bit if they're going to, continue to try to push you and be a negative influence on you in that regard. Of course, everyone, we can have our differences all day long, but, you want people in your corner who are going to respect your decisions and be supportive of them, and not just be like, forget it. Come on, come have a drink with us, man. Why aren't you coming out of the bar anymore? You don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that a lot of people, if you're hanging out with a person or a group of people or whatever that are like essentially trying to force you to drink or smoke or whatever with them, like that's not healthy. That's not a good relationship, regardless of how great of a friend they are outside of those moments. Like that's probably not somebody you want to spend too much time around. Like if they can't respect your decision, and it's quite simple to me, right? Like if I'm hanging out with somebody and they're like, "Hey, do you want to have some beers?" and I'm like, "No, I don't want to drink." If they respond with anything other than "That's cool," like,
Yeah.
like don't push that kind of stuff on people. Respect their decisions, man.
Yeah, exactly. And, and like people will have a hard time with saying no. I've had a hard time with saying no before when it comes to stuff like that. You don't want to be the odd one out. But, the thing is, like, the times I have said no, and I'm sitting back and I'm watching everyone else drinking and getting stupid acting, it makes you reflect a lot, definitely on yourself. And you're like, oh, wow. So that's what I'm like. That's how I used to be, or similar to that. It doesn't bring out the best in a lot of people, for sure.
No, definitely not.
I've seen more people get really upset and really angry and aggressive even, than I've seen people, the ones be happy and whatnot. It's definitely a lot more negativity seems to bubble up from those unaddressed issues, that lie within.
Yeah, definitely. It's just it's kind of exactly like what Erin said, right? Like keep it in the dark versus being in the light. And it's kind of how like alcohol enhances all of those emotions that you've had unresolved or just haven't figured out. And it's not great,
No, it's not.
It's like holding a sloppy mirror up to yourself. Like the funhouse mirrors that'll like
exactly all warped and distorted. Yeah.
It's like your emotions will come out and they're all distorted. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And one of the things. Go ahead, Erin. Please. No, please.
Oh, and no, just like what Tim was saying, it's all your emotions come out warped and distorted, and but they keep doing it. So it's an easy rabbit hole to slip down into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I want to be myself and embody my true being. But whenever someone's under the influence of drugs or alcohol, you're not yourself. So if you're not the one showing up, something else is. And then you're going to live with that regret of, that's not how I wanted to act. That's not what I wanted to do. So I don't see, well, I do see why I put myself in that position before, but I think it's worth the effort of showing up for yourself and those around you.
Oh, definitely.
Have you, during your time as a personal trainer, have you run across like any of your clients who've had a hard time putting down maybe these bad habits or anything?
Some of them, I don't want to get into like too many details, personal details of them, their lives and whatnot. But some of them have struggled a little bit, mainly more so with food, like junk food, more so with that than the drinking.
Yeah.
And like the food, again, junk food can be really hard to put down too. One of my conspiracy theories, again, this is a conspiracy theory, but the food industry and healthcare industry are working hand in hand. They want us to be unhealthy because, a sick and unhealthy population, they're easier to control, and sick customers are reoccurring customers.
I totally agree. It's even been proven all these unhealthy foods are full of triglycerides, which are addictive. Mm-hmm. So the more soda you drink, the more candy you eat, the more McDonald's you have, the more you want it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you might as well just be putting heroin in the food at this point.
For sure. Yeah.
Well,
heroin in the burgers and cocaine in the soda.
Yeah.
Which, hey, Coca-Cola used to have cocaine back in the day.
Used to do that,
yep. Way back when.
Get that Coke.
But yeah, if you're in charge, do you want healthy, happy people who are conscious of what's going on around them to see you stealing all of the money and all the world's resources? Or do you want people who are constantly living in fear and like, they're going to take my whatever you're afraid of, people taking?
Yeah.
And trying to divide them against each other. It's
exactly.
much easier to control a docile population.
Yep, a docile, sick, and unhealthy population.
That reminds me of a thing that I saw where it was somebody talking about how, like, if you've ever seen like how Bill Gates or Bill Gates's morning routine or something like that, and it'll be like he wakes up every morning at 4 and has exactly 2 cups of coffee and shit like that. And somebody was like, yeah, if I was super rich and wanted to keep people from being my competition, of course I'm going to tell them to wake up at 4 a.m. This way they're too tired to do anything.
Exactly.
I'm like, wake 8:30. That's a reasonable time.
They see these routines like, this is like Hugh Jackman's routine or Jake Gyllenhaal's routine. And, it's like, these are routines that were tailored specifically for them.
Yeah.
But you have to find one that works more so for you. You can take things from them that you like they did this workout. You might be able to take some of the exercises that they did and try them out and see if you like them. Might take some of the meal ideas from their diets. But, at the end of the day, you are you. You're not Hugh Jackman or Jake Gyllenhaal.
Or
you are you.
Rock Johnson.
Exactly. You are you. So tailor it for you.
Yeah, I saw a video. Tailor for you. I saw a video where somebody was like, I'm going to do the exact same daily routine that Dwayne Johnson does. And some of the shit was like, wake up at 3 a.m, do a 3-mile run, go home, have a post-run like smoothie, go to the gym, come home, have a post-gym meal, do another run or some shit. Like they ended up spending like 6 hours at the gym and running like 12 miles in one day. And I was like, that is not sustainable unless you're somebody who is ramped up to that point. Like, could you run 12 miles in a day? Sure, if you've been training to do that, but not any normal person.
You've conditioned your body to get to that point. But also, too, like, none of us live with The Rock, right? We're not right. How do we know he does this every day?
Yeah. He's saying this on Facebook. Oh, really? How do we know it's true?
And he flies a 10,000-pound gym with him everywhere he goes. Do you have your own personal gym that you have the resources to fly with you everywhere?
Well, let's take another look at it too. Like if his gym routine is spending 6 hours in the gym a day, like that's because that's his literal job. His job is to work out and then go play in a movie or something. Like that's his job.
Exactly.
Like I have
Exactly.
a I
Yeah.
have to go to work tomorrow 8 in the morning and work until 1600. Like I don't got time to be spending 12 hours at a gym or whatever. Like that's ridiculous, man.
Yeah. And the problem with those, like with those plans is that it can, on one hand, it can kind of inspire people, but on the other hand, it can make them feel very defeated.
Hmm.
Like, man, I can't do this. I have to work, 8+ hours, sometimes 12 to 16 hours. I have a family I have to take care of. I've got this going on, that going on. I can't do this. And then they don't want to do it because they don't feel supported. They feel defeated. They feel
Yeah.
like this is an unattainable goal and I'm never going to get it if I have to do X, Y, Z and all this crap just to get there.
Do you find that to be a big challenge as a personal trainer is like working around people's schedules and trying to help incorporate these healthy lifestyles into their day to day?
Oh, for sure. And like we try to be as flexible as we can with scheduling and getting clients in. Of course, there's some limitations and boundaries, of course,
Hmm.
in terms of like scheduling, because we have, our lives too that we
Of
have to,
course.
be taking care of and making sure that we're good on that front. But we try to be as flexible as we can. Like I've taken clients right in the middle of the day, anywhere from the earliest I've come in for a workout was 5 a.m. The latest I stayed with a client was she came in at 9:30 p.m. Because it was Ramadan for her.
Mm.
Mm.
So she came in, so she'd come in really late during that time and we'd work out together. So we try to be as flexible and as accommodating as possible because we get it. Like people have, demanding busy lives and demanding jobs, if they have a family, and that can make it even harder. And some of my clients who have children, I've encouraged them, like, incorporate your kids into the workout, like make it a game,
Yeah.
like play tag with them or something like that. There you go. There's your cardio. If they're really small, like put them on your back and do some push-ups or squats, and then, or if they're really little, like you can put them on your legs and do leg raises, you know, and so that you can incorporate your children into the workout and it's fun for everyone and you're getting closer to your goal and they're having a great time because they get to hang out with mom or dad, you know? And then in terms of
Yeah.
the diet aspect, again, it can be hard to make those changes with your diet. Again, the junk food, oof, like once it sinks its hooks into you, it's hard getting away from. Small changes are sometimes better than going cold turkey. Everyone's different. Some people can do the cold turkey method. Other people, it's just making small changes like eliminate, like switch from regular Coke to maybe Diet Coke or Coke Zero and then get off of that. Instead of, if you have to have a burger, you know, maybe just get, instead of getting like the Big Mac, just get a regular cheeseburger and then eventually then stop that. It's just
Cook a
making like
burger at
little
home.
changes. Yeah. Little changes to your diet. That way it's a little bit easier for you to wean yourself off and it's not such a slap in the face. Because I've done cold turkey and it's rough. It's a slap in the face, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a study out there that says like 90% of the people who go cold turkey on most things fail pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proprietor of small lifestyle changes that are going to accrue great interest over time. For example, I have an insatiable sweet tooth.
Mm.
What I'm doing, I switched from ice cream to Freezy Pops.
There you go.
Flavored ice versus
Mm.
straight fat with sugar. I'm down to like 170 from 185 or whatever. Just from making slow, gradual lifestyle changes instead of, eating an entire box of Pop Tarts. I make 2 pieces of sugar cinnamon toast. Then I have a PB&J or a couple pieces of French toast with almost no syrup.
Just a
So,
slight drizzle.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think a big part is kind of reflecting on, am I going to feel happy after I've done this? And if not, what's my alternative? Would I rather have a piece of French toast that's really gonna, I'm gonna be satiated and super stoked from having that egg and cinnamon in my life.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair comparison. Erin, you mentioned as a personal trainer, there's like certain boundaries and limitations to obviously, like you're not going to be overbearing or anything to that regard. But
Right.
is there any kind of like situations where you have to be, I guess, like strict? Like if a client is, I don't know, let's say they show up to like their training session or whatever, and they're like 10 minutes late, and they're like, I don't even feel like doing any of this crap today. Like, is there a part of you like is it part of your job to be like, no, you have to do these push-ups because that's in the training plan today? Or is it like let's tailor it and change it to how you feel for the day?
I definitely go with more of the let's tailor and change it for how you feel for the day because I mean, and like some people get a little surprised because, being military, like, oh, you're going to go drill sergeant on them? No,
Mm-hmm.
no, and also that method a lot of the times doesn't really work,
Mm-hmm.
especially if these clients they're paying to come here. And if you're, it's one thing like you can push, but you don't want to push past a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
to where it is that like, come on, come on, let's go. Come on. What are you doing? I don't care. You're going to do this. You don't want it to get to that point because
Yeah.
then they're not going to have a good time anymore. They're going to be like, oh, this girl crazy, man. Screw her. I don't want to work with her. So it's like, so you have to tailor it more. And it's like, all right, well, if you're not feeling this today, we can do this instead. If you don't want to do this exercise for this reason, then there's another one that we can do that will target the same muscle groups. And
Yeah.
you just tailor to them. And also too, sometimes if they need to talk, you can just do like a simple exercise,
Mm-hmm.
something really simple, like body weight squats or just something like that. And they can sometimes they just need to talk. And you just talk with them and they're just, doing their little exercises.
Yeah. With your military and MA background, was that a hard shift for you to kind of like, was there a mentality or a mind shift? So sorry, mindset shift. Yes, thank you. That you had to go through during your time as becoming and getting certified as a personal trainer. Like, okay, I need to make sure that I don't cross that boundary and I don't talk to these people a certain way. Like, was that difficult for you to do, or was that easy?
Oh, it was pretty easy because like I went into the reserves a couple of years ago. Like in 2017, I went into the reserves
Okay.
and I went back to college, worked on my associates, worked at the college at the Veterans Resource Center. So I had, and then going into the reserve. So I had a lot of time to like make that transition. So then after I went on my final deployment to Djibouti and Somalia, and then I came back here, I was pretty much ready. I was pretty much ready to make that full transition. It wasn't too jarring. If I had gone immediately from active straight into civilian sector, it would have been more jarring for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I didn't know you've been out since that time frame or for the past 7-ish years, right?
Out of active duty, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, you had more time to acclimate to civilian life.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, definitely. And I'm glad I went that route of the reserves instead of just saying, I'm going to be completely done. It helped with that transition process with just
Hmm.
getting more into like civilian mentality and kind of getting out of the military mentality. It definitely helped with that.
Yeah. One thing that I think a lot of people have a hard time transitioning through is in the military, you have to listen to me and my pay grade says I'm right. Whereas
Oh,
on the outside and in real life, one reason a lot of leaders, even in the military, fail is people have to want to follow you. They have to want to do what you're asking of them. So I do love that you said that, with your fitness stuff, you're not barking at somebody, you're not a drill sergeant. You're there to inspire and motivate them. And you don't want to break somebody down to where they don't want to come back.
exactly. And like, and when you do that, especially when it comes to when people are trying to, better themselves and be healthier, if you do that to someone, then that could just ruin their journey completely. And then they won't care. They'll be like, yeah, screw this. I'm not going to get, and then they go right back to the drinking or the junk food and all that. And there you go. That's why a lot of people, they don't like, because the gym that I work at is more of a private gym. Because the big box gyms, a lot of people don't like going into those big box gyms. It's for first timers, it can be intimidating because there's a lot of people in there, a lot of equipment spread out all over, and they don't like it. And sometimes the other gym patrons there they're douchebags. You know, I'm sure you've seen some of those stories of, oh, they recorded someone who's overweight in the locker room and then tried to shame them on social media, and you know, bullshit stories like that. And it's like, why are you doing that to someone who's like trying to make a positive change? You think that's going to encourage them or inspire them? No, they're going to be like, man, screw this. I'm not going to come here if I'm not going to be treated nicely. So it's,
all of those big like muscle heads that, you know, the douchebags at the gym, like they all started their journey at some point too. They weren't always like that. So I don't understand the idea of like breaking somebody down while they're trying to get on a different level than where they're at. Like it's so weird to me.
Yeah. That's why Joey Swole is Bay, because he stands up to people and is like, dude, he deserves every follower on the planet.
Yes, I love him.
Yeah. And one thing that we've even engaged in a more recent conversation is like fat shaming doesn't work. You really, it's positive reinforcement is what's going to encourage positive behavioral shifts.
Right.
What's going to make you happier? Hitting the drive-through or coming home and cooking hamburger and broccoli? And we, instead of being bullshit, you know, pretending like everything's right and I'm eating fried kale chips, I'm going to be honest and say last night I made a plate of nachos with my wife and that's what we had for supper. But that's so much better than us ordering Sal's New York Slice and maybe getting a big greasy calzone. I do love those. I do eat those all the goddamn time.
For sure.
I'm making slow, gradual shifts into who I'm going to be so it's sustainable.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's definitely small things that you can do. Cutting some sugar out, doing a little bit of replacement here and there. Those are big things that I think can help a lot. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't exactly been health focused lately myself. You know, I'm trying to shift my mindset back into getting out and doing more running and everything, and actually taking time and going to the gym, and stop using work as an excuse as to like, I don't have time to do that. I have to, you know, finish whatever it is I'm working on. So yeah, it's something that I'm struggling with. I guarantee you a lot of people struggle with that. It's a little bit of time management, a little bit of mindset shift, and then, you know, a lot of motivation, a lot of unconditional positive regard and loving yourself that needs to go into that. And yeah, everybody has it within themselves for sure.
And definitely.
Edgy, I do want to ask about some of your favorite exercises. So you're not afraid to accept and embody your femininity while also being muscular. A lot of the poses that I've seen you do are typically seen as more masculine poses, but that's you being proud of the work you've done. So what are some of your favorite exercises or muscle groups to get into?
Oh, let's see. Well, legs. I definitely love doing legs. Even though it is kind of a love-hate relationship because recovery does suck. I was like the 2 days after leg day. Oh God.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I love doing squats, barbell squats. And
Big
I love
compound
doing
movements.
legs. I could go pretty heavy with legs. Barbell squats, leg press. I like leg press a lot. Lunges too, and hip thrusts. Hip thrusts, especially if you're trying to build your glutes, really, really good.
Yeah.
For the shoulders, always enjoy a shoulder press. You can do that with the barbell. You can do that with dumbbells or even with the machines. Really good targeting the delt muscle as a whole. Really good for that. If you're looking to build up your trapezius, shrugs are really good. Not that I'm trying to build my trapezius up too much. I don't want to lose my neck, but still keep that area strong. For biceps, I usually do easy bar curl, and then I'll do hammers and twists. The hammers target more of the outer bicep head, twists target more of the inner bicep head.
Yep.
So I like doing those. Of course, tricep push downs, enjoy those. Back lat pull downs are really good. bent over rows. And I also like to do back extensions for lower back. That can also, people sometimes also do those on leg day too, because it is activating glutes and hamstrings. And pull-ups. Pull-ups, and then bench press for chest, moving on to chest, bench press, incline press, and push-ups.
I like that all, well, not all. I mean, I would classify pull-ups as a difficult workout just because they're really hard. But most of the workouts you mentioned, like, they don't take a lot of previous knowledge. Like, yes, you have to go into these workouts knowing your form, but for the most part, like hammer curls and shrugs and squats, like all of these things are pretty easy workouts. And I feel like a lot of people, if you're interested in getting into fitness and learning how to take care of yourself in a more physical way, like these workouts are simple. They're easy to get into. Do a little bit of research to make sure your form's good so you're not screwing your back. But other than that, like your favorite workouts are workouts that they're super universal, super easy to get into, and people can really look at like what you just mentioned and incorporate that into their day-to-day.
Exactly.
Edgy, thank you so much for joining us and sharing.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks to everybody for listening to this episode. Hopefully we can get Erin back again at another time. I know that there's still plenty of things that I want to hear from her and just kind of dive into more of what she gets into on the day-to-day.
If you got something out of this conversation, you want to help us encourage our guests to come back, head over to patreon.com/nostreetlights. If you sign up even for $1 a month, you can pose your questions to our amazing guests. And please share this episode with whoever popped into your head or whoever you thought could gain something from it. And if you want to collaborate or send someone our way, feel free to do so.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to us on social media, email, whichever. Between Erin and I, we're going to see it. Quick little disclaimer here. Our podcast is for entertainment purposes and cannot be substituted for professional medical advice.
If you need help now, please call 911, or you can call or text 988 for immediate intervention.
Be good to yourselves and each other.
We love you.
Peace.